of the supergroup Take That. He is Gary Barlow, and it was his critically acclaimed songwriting skills which helped the band to the top of the charts throughout Europe, with hits like Pray, A Million Love Songs, Babe, and Back for Good. Since Take That split up in 1996, he's embarked on a successful solo career with his long-awaited debut album, Open Road, which was released earlier this year. And this is the time.
The man was me.
Gary, welcome. I'm glad to see that there was a lot of athleticism there for you. Jumping up and down. Were you flying through the air?
No, I tell you what that was. They put me on a trampoline in the middle of a busy roundabout.
Just for fun?
Well, their fun, I think, not for mine.
Traffic distraction,
That's
perhaps.
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's about as athletic as you're going to see me get.
I know you're not that fond of the gym, but you do look in very good shape, nonetheless.
Thank you. So do you.
Well, I am fond of the gym, but that's because I have to.
Oh, you are? Right,
you
okay.
do a lot of stage work, so I reckon you get your workouts that way, don't you?
I keep pretty busy as well. I'm running around all day, so that probably keeps the weight off.
Now, you've been incredibly busy, and this has been a great year for you with this album, Open Road. That's the title track we just heard. And I know the words are quite meaningful, I presume, because it was a new phase, a new stage in your life and your career.
Do you know, the strange thing about Open Road is that that was a song I wrote when I was 16. I was leaving school at the time, and I was, you know, thrown out in the big wide world. And I came back and looked at that song again as I was starting my solo project. So again, my life has hit that phase where I was about to change and go into something new. I thought, wow, you know, it's been with me for 10 years now, this song. I've got to use it. And that's what gave me the name of the album, so I was very happy for that. And
obviously, I mean, it's about the fact that you're making choices. When you were 16, you really didn't know what was coming, what was ahead of you. But this time, I feel like at the end of the song, you've sort of resolved it. You know, you say you found yourself. You're the man you're talking to. You kind of know yourself now.
Well, the end of the song was the bit I wrote, you know, this year. It was kind of the conclusion behind it all. I like things to have happy endings. I don't like people to feel comfortable at the end of a record.
Or sad or too sad. Because this is a love album as well, isn't it, really?
Yeah, do you know what, for me, making records, and you know, I have to say, fundamentally, I sing love songs throughout, I have done throughout my career. And I think the reason for that is that I'm not one of these artists who goes in the studio and thinks, right, I'm going to write an album just for me now, it's just for my pleasure. Because it isn't, you know, you're making it, there's two parties involved here. There's someone who's going to listen to this album. And it's about connecting, and I think that, you know, if there's one thing that makes us all the same, it's that we've been in love or we've felt love at some time in our lives.
Or the lack of it, for that matter.
Yeah, and that's right, I write about that as well. And if people can connect to some part of that, then I'm happy. That's my job done. And
was it a happy process for you making the album? Because presumably it must have felt like, well, this is a challenge. You knew this reconfirms your writing talent, obviously, but I wondered whether anyone along the way came and gave you advice or opened another door for you.
Sure, I've had tons of advice on this album, some good, some bad. And you know, it's been interesting. Making an album on your own is a lot different, I think, than making it with a group, because you can go up to one of the other guys and say, what do you think about this? And you're getting an opinion off someone who's part of the group, it's part of their life. So it's been interesting. I still have to go to people and say, what do you think of this? Because I think if all of a sudden everything's on your shoulders, that's a bit too daunting for me.
It's a bit daunting, yeah. What about the choice? Because this is your fourth single release off the album. You were spoilt for choice, I think, for singles. How did you choose the first one?
Forever Love was so appropriate, I thought, for the time, because I think when you move from a situation, you spend time evaluating, right, what am I? What am I worth to people? What can I present to them? And there's three things I can do. I can play the piano, write songs, and I can sing. And that's what Forever Love is all about. That's all it is. It's just a piano and a vocal. So I wanted to illustrate to people this is what's left.
But I mean, when you started out, age whatever it was, I think 11 when you first got your keyboard, wasn't it? Instead of a skateboard, I gather.
Instead of a bike.
Instead of a
BMX bike.
Was it from your father?
Yes, from my mum and dad, yeah.
And what happened? Did you know that, I mean, had you asked for it, or was it just a coincidence that they discovered you had a talent?
Well, it was at that time in my life where I was watching Top of the Pops, and on Top of the Pops was like, Erasure, and there was Depeche Mode and Soft Cell, and they were all playing keyboards. And I thought, I've got to play keyboard. I've got to be in. I've got to play keyboard.
You weren't yearning to be the guitarist like most of us sort of
because guitars were really forgotten about at that point. There was that kind of 2 or 3 years where there was those electronic bands, and I just thought, wow, I love that sound. I love that Depeche Mode sound. I thought, I've got to buy a keyboard.
But you had no formal training, did you? I mean, you were self-taught.
I picked it up by ear. Yeah, it felt very natural to listen to a song and then start to play it.
Was it satisfying though? I mean, when you first put pen to paper to write lyrics and your own music, were you nervous of trying it out on an audience? Because it's quite different, obviously, than playing on. Do
you know, when I used to play around the social clubs, and I used to sing other people's records, now and again I'd slip one of my own in, and and I'd see people go, I wonder what this is, but by the end of it they were kind of nodding along, and that was always kind of a plus point for me. But I spent from the age of 16 to 19 coming up and down to London, going to publishers and record companies trying to find a deal. So I had a lot of reaction all the time.
And it's interesting because on this album, I mean, contrary to what people think, you write most of your music, but you've also included other people's songs, one from Madonna. And I wondered how you select that kind of material. Is there songs that you hear that you love, or do people write for you?
Well, I'm a great lover of music, and I'm not one of these writers who just has a very blinkered view and thinks, well, I'm a songwriter, only I'm writing on this record. I love to sing, I'm a singer as well, and I love a lot of other people's records. And, you know, the first thing is that I must actually fall in love with the tune as soon as I hear it. And the second is, it's got to be something that I wouldn't write. It's got to be a song that I wouldn't put on my album, that I wouldn't be able to write. And that's pretty much it, really. That's my selective process of finding other people's records.
I mean, I'm just fascinated because with that enormous success that you had, that extraordinary few years with Take That, the pressures when you left, when it disbanded, must have been enormous on you, because particularly because everyone looked at you and said, you're the talented one, you're the gifted one who can write, sing, play. Were you ever doubtful that you'd be able to do it for yourself on your own?
Do you know, although that's how it looks, that the pressure was on me, I don't think it was. I think it was completely the reverse of that. I think that people know what I can do. They've been listening to my song for 5 years. I think the pressure's on all the other guys. You know, nobody knows what they could do. Nobody knows the material or even their voices, most of them. I think it's the reverse of that. I think the pressure's on them.
How did it feel, though? I mean, to sort of make that decision, and presumably you knew, even despite the success, you wanted to get out. It was the right time for you to move on.
It was probably probably one of the biggest decisions we've ever made in our lives. I think to walk away from something so big and so secure, I think that was the thing. It was so, the security around you just felt great. It was like a machine. It just went by itself. You didn't have to really do that much to push it forward. And that was a big decision.
Was it taken as a group? Or?
It was taken as a group, yeah. And I mean, I remember when we went to tell our record company, and they were all like, oh, no, there's another 2 years worth. But
they sort of calculated it.
It was a very long-term decision, I thought, because if we were to finish with a #1 record at the top, where people wanted more, well, that means that people are going to be waiting for our solo projects instead of when we were sliding down the charts, and then you're trying to pull yourself out of a deep hole. I think it was the right decision to make.
Is that your version of how it ended? Because, I mean, obviously there was loads of speculation, very distraught fans. I mean, is there anything you'd like to correct about what's been written about the breakup of Take That?
No, I think that the breakup of the 4 of us, which was 6 months after Robbie left, that's pretty much how it was. I think if you ask any of the others, I think all the speculation was around Robbie Williams leaving, and still continues to be. You know, that's the strange thing. And if there's one thing we always talked about, was we've got to finish at the right time. You know, we've got to know when to end this thing.
Well, let's take a look, because we've got a clip of you together, because it's a fantastic era, and it's still with us on video. Great outfits there.
Thanks very much.
Did you actually like wearing those boots and those skirts?
Those boots? Well, everyone else's, they come to like here, you know, but mine, little legs, mine were over here. so I couldn't actually bend my knees very well. I felt like Frankenstein. Yeah.
Clumping around.
Not enjoyable.
But I mean, those touring days must have been fantastic. It was like being a family, really, wasn't it?
That's exactly the thing, and it's kind of, that's what I've got to achieve when I go on tour. I'm going on tour in February, and I've got to achieve that again. I don't think it matters that there's not going to be 4 members of the group that I'm in with me. I think that I've got to make friends with the band and stuff. I'm using the same group as we used for Take That, which is nice. They've been with me for nearly 5 years now.
So you've still got a portion of the family with you?
I've still got a portion of the family there, and that's the important thing, is the feeling that, you know, you're all going round as a team. I think that team efforts are a lot more rewarding than a solo effort.
Well, that's great. We're going to take a short break now, but you're staying with us, and on VIP, because Gary will be with me after the break, and we'll be chatting lots more in a moment, so stay with us.